My dear brothers and sisters, the readings of today, beginning with the first reading, is a lesson on trusting God in every situation and never giving up. The story of Elijah, whose life was in danger, who, after the encounter with the false prophets and being pursued by the powerful king and his very wicked wife, sought refuge in the wilderness. He saw a cave and hid there. And what happened? Certain things began to happen. First, it was an earthquake. Then it was a strong wind. But in all this, one would expect God to say, well, I am meeting you in this unusual situation. No. It was only when it was a still small voice that Elijah experienced the presence of God. Still small voice. The experience of Elijah in the Old Testament reminds us of the sufferings and the temptations and the trials of the people of Israel when they journeyed from Egypt toward the promised land. They had all kinds of difficulties, all kinds of challenges. But in all this, at every turn of their lives, the Lord showed that He was with them. First, it was facing the Red Sea and being with the rest between the Red Sea and the Egyptian army, armed to the teeth. So it was no choice at all. If they should run towards the sea, they would be drowned. If they should stand there, the army will come and kill all of them. So what choice did they have? No choice. They cried and they complained to Moses and they complained to God against Moses and they shouted, they expressed their fear. But it was at that moment that people were expected to give up, that the power of God came to them. Stretch out your hand, God said to Moses. And he stretched out his hand, holding the staff, and the sea divided in two. And they were able to walk dry-shod through the bed of the sea. At times in our lives, our experience is like that of Elijah, hiding from our enemies, from our pursuers, from difficulties, from the turn of events in our lives. And then in the New Testament, we notice that God, who appeared to the Israelites through Moses, the Lord who appeared to Elijah and spoke to him, became a human being. So correctly did the prophet Isaiah tell the king that the name of the child would be called Emmanuel, God with us. What happened, according to the gospel reading we have read today, is nothing short of either having faith or losing faith. It's either choosing that God can do everything or giving it up and say, well, we are drowning already. Let us wait until we are eaten by the reptiles and fish in the sea. But we follow the sequence of the story, and that will help us to also think about our own experiences in life. It started as a quiet evening. Jesus would like to take the disciples to a lonely place to rest, to pray. They had been working very hard among the people, healing the sick, preaching the gospel, and so on. And Jesus said, okay, now let us go to a lonely place where we can be by ourselves and rest. They went by boat. But the people, knowing the exact place they were going, came by a footpath and reached the place before the arrival of Jesus and his disciples. When Jesus came out of the boat, he saw the people and he took pity on them. And the scripture tells us that he had pity on them, he had compassion on them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. And he abandoned his own plan. He forgot about his own rest, and he decided to take care of the people as a good shepherd. Remember, the Lord promised in the book of Ezekiel, he says, I myself will take care of my sheep. I will be the good shepherd. And now the good shepherd had compassion. He had compassion on the people. And we remember what happened. He began to teach them for a long time. So long was his teaching that the disciples politely came to him and said, well, Master, you have to dismiss these people. It's a lonely place. Let them go to the villages around and buy themselves something to eat. And we remember last Sunday what Jesus told them. You give them something to eat yourselves. And they provided Jesus with 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. And with this in his hands, having prayed the prayer of thanksgiving, he broke the 5 bread and 2 fish, gave to his disciples, and they shared to the crowd, and they ate, and they picked up 12 baskets full of the leftover. Having done this, Jesus did not forget why he came to the lonely place. It was to rest and to pray. He sent the disciples ahead of him. You can go. I'm sure one of them or all of them must have asked him, what about you, Lord? How are you coming home? They set forth while he went up to the mountains to pray. And he was there the entire night praying. And suddenly the disciples experienced turbulence. I'd like to tell you why. At times, one of the symbols of the church is the boat sailing on the ship. The sea of this world is such that at times it tosses the boat, which is the church. At times, we have a friendly wind blowing behind the boat, and everything is going smoothly, the sea is calm. But at other times, the sea is turbulent, and the boat experiences difficulties. It was at this moment when they were about to give up. The sea was so turbulent. Remember the experience of Elijah in the Old Testament, the earthquake. There was almost a tsunami in the sea. And the disciples were troubled, really troubled, for a good reason. It was at that moment they thought they were giving up, that they saw something coming on the water. They forgot that their Lord is Emmanuel and that he would never abandon them. All they thought about was, according to their little knowledge, it must be a ghost. At that time, Jesus came close to them and said, do not be afraid. It is I. It is I. Our minds go back to Exodus chapter 3. It is I. It is the one who told Moses, I am. It is I am. It is I. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. Some people have tried to count the number of times God said to people in the Bible, both in the Old and the New Testaments, do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. Fear is something that has very negative effect on our lives. It cripples us and makes us to lose our faith. Do not be afraid, he said. It is I. It is not a ghost. And Peter, as always, spoke up. Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water. And Jesus said, come. And I want you not to gloss over this encounter between Jesus and Peter, who was trying to have faith in him. If you are the one, command me to walk on the water. At this moment, there was still the tempest. And Jesus said, come. Come to me. Do not be afraid of the water. And Peter, people often forget that Peter actually walked on the water. He walked on the water. But it was on the strength of Emmanuel. Come. Come. He got out of the boat and walked as if he were walking on a dry land. Come. Peter walked on the water. But because the wave didn't come down, because Peter was walking on the water, Peter shifted his attention. And I want you to note the word shift. He shifted his attention from Emmanuel to himself. He forgot that walking on the water was not done by Simon, the son of John. It was on the strength of the power of Emmanuel. But when he shifted his attention from Emmanuel to the waves and remembering his feeble nature, or another word to use for what happened was he lost faith in God made man. At that moment, he began to sink. He cried out, "Save me, Lord. Save me, Lord." That is another way of saying, I have lost my faith. Only you can save me. The situation I find myself now is impossible. I am drowning. Help me, Lord. And Jesus stretched out his hand and held him and said, "Why did you doubt, you man of little faith? Why did you doubt?" In other words, what Jesus is telling Peter is the very definition of what faith is. That faith is trusting Jesus even when the senses tell us otherwise. Faith is believing without any doubt, without any shred of doubt on whatever God has revealed. Faith is trusting, as it is written in the letter to the Hebrews, even when we do not see any reason to trust. Save me, Lord. I have lost my faith. Now, my brothers and sisters, I want you to look, as you listen to these words, to bring out your own situation at this moment, the situation in which you find yourself. It could be the situation in your family. Things are not working out the way they used to be, and you are beginning to lose faith. The boat carrying your family is being tossed by the winds of this world. The economic situation you are facing is like a strong wave, like an earthquake. The situation in your place of work, or even The relationship between you and your official document, you are being tossed about by the winds of this world. What should be your reaction? Before we answer the question, what should be your reaction? The first question is, what is your reaction at this moment? We are tried by illness of different sorts. We are assailed by doubts. At times, it is the death of somebody very close to you in the family, a parent, a sibling. Something you never calculated could happen to you. When you were celebrating at the beginning of the year and wishing one another Happy New Year, you did not fathom that just suddenly somebody you love so much could suddenly depart. That could be the wave striking your boat. It could be that the family that has been living in peace, suddenly the wife or the husband is beginning to have a problem, beginning to suspect you, beginning to think that you are unfaithful. Or is an illness. You never knew anything about it before, and suddenly they are telling you, well, the cancer is at stage 2 or stage 3 or stage 4. At this moment you are listening to these words, one of these is happening to you. Your boat is under attack by the waves. But as you look into the darkness, you have no hope on any more thing except the God-made man. Emmanuel is there. And when you are shouting, who can help me? He tells you the same thing he told the disciples. It is I, do not be afraid. And I'd like you to take these words to your hearts. It is I, do not be afraid. He is the one who knows everything about you, about your situation, about my situation. It is I, do not be afraid. And if you, like Peter, you say, well, I'm a Catholic, I want to go to church to pray, I want to attend Mass. Lord, tell me to come. He says, come. What does it mean, come? Except to come to me, all of you who are carrying heavy burdens and are very tired, and I will give you rest. Is it not the same thing he tells us in the same gospel according to St. Matthew? If we read chapter 11, verse 28. Come to me. What does it mean, come? Except when he says, I will give you rest. I will not abandon you. I know the plans I have for you. Come. And if we are walking towards him, what happened to Peter may happen to us. When we are distracted and shift attention from focusing on the one who can help us, and we are so aware of our feeble nature, and we are aware of the enormity and the danger of the wave blowing not only against the boat, but on our person walking on the lake towards Jesus. What should be our reaction if we discover that we are actually sinking? We should do what Peter did. We should shout, help me, Lord, save me, Lord. And if we do that, what he did to Peter, he will also do. He will stretch out his hand and he will catch us. What does it mean he will stretch out his hand, if not what you are hearing at this moment? That the Lord is telling you, do not give up. You are a man of little faith, I know that. You do not believe 100%. That is why I came, to teach you to believe. Why did you doubt? Why did you doubt? The Lord wants us to trust him even when there is no reason, humanly speaking, to do so. As we continue this Eucharistic celebration, I'd like you to take the first 2 minutes. I'm going to sit down, and I'd like you to honestly reflect on your situation and allow Emmanuel, God-made man, to come into your situation. He will stretch out his hand, he will hold you, and he will tell you, why did you doubt? Why did you doubt?